We have a new season of The Circle. I feel like, as the pop stans on Twitter would say, nobody moved for Circle Season 4. I just think it came out as a surprise, or maybe they're not advertising it a lot. I didn't see it like pop up on my social media like at all. I kind of feel like Love is Blind and the dating Netflix shows have really taken the spotlight from The Circle on Netflix. Hello and welcome back to the Miscellaneous channel where we do miscellaneous things. I'm Zeleny. I typically cover TV, pop culture, internet trends, and other miscellaneous things on this channel, so subscribe if that's your vibe. I'm a big fan of The Circle. I've made videos about season 2 and season 3, I believe. Though it's not my favorite reality show, maybe I'm just in a hater-ass mood this week, but I'm not vibing that much with season 4 just yet. I felt better after I watched all 4 episodes that are out right now. So in today's video, I want to give sort of my hot take, first impressions about the cast of The Circle season 4, as well as just discuss the first 4 episodes of the season. I'll likely do a part 2 to this video after the season's up in like 3 weeks. Episodes of The Circle release on Wednesdays on Netflix. Last week we got the first 4 episodes, and then this week we should be getting the next 4, and then next week the next 4, and then I think the following week is just 1 episode and it's the finale. Something I've realized about The Circle is just that it's kind of a slow-moving reality show for my liking of reality TV, and maybe that is because right now I'm watching Survivor 42. I think this is the first time I'm watching a season of The Circle and a season of Survivor at the exact same time concurrently. I feel like 1 episode of Survivor equals 4 of The Circle, and it just feels like The Circle is filled with a lot more fluff. I'm already kind of jumping ahead. Let me get into just my thoughts on the first 4 episodes. Since The Circle formats their episodes kind of weirdly, like there's always a cliffhanger and it's not the same format every episode the way other reality shows are, I think it's easier to go through each player's journey rather than splitting it up by episodes. So far season 4, I was skeptical in episode 1. It took me a while to get through it, honestly, just because I was like starting and stopping, and I'm just feeling less enamored with The Circle lately, and I can't quite pinpoint what it is. I think it might just be personal. I do think they just need to add a little more spice to the show, even though they did add a lot of spice. Honestly, if I could sum up the first 4 episodes in one thematic word, it would be spice, because they really tied that in, and we'll get to all of that. I'm still excited to be watching, and I'm gonna cover The Circle over the next few weeks. We'll see how it goes, and I'm excited to see how I feel by the end of the season, if I feel the same or if it wins me over in the end. I'm actually just gonna cover the cast in order of the first ranking, because in the first 4 episodes we've only had 1 official ranking ceremony, and that's what I'm saying about The Circle being kind of slow paced, especially with how many players The Circle constantly brings in, which I actually enjoy that. The Circle is not the type of show where you are sending a lot of people home, or you should be sending a lot of people home. It brings in players as it goes, and that really changes up dynamics. The Circle is a bit of a unique situation. It's just, I can't believe we've only had 1 ranking in 4 episodes. Like, I still think that's not enough. But I'm gonna go through the cast in rank order from bottom to top. After that, I'm gonna talk about the new players that came in. And I'm gonna put timestamps down below if you wanna just skip around to whatever people you're interested in. We're starting with 7th place, and that is Paul, who is played by his daughter Parker. This one's a catfish, and oh, poor Parker. She was the first out. She was the bimbo of the season. She was very endearing, honestly. I kind of feel like what they were trying to do with Ava and her sister last season, playing kind of bimbo characters, Parker was like what they were trying to act as. Parker felt more like a genuine bimbo to me in like an endearing way, and I mean bimbo respectfully. It felt authentic, like she really thought she was gonna do great, and then she didn't, and she was just messing up at every turn. She couldn't give answers that were convincing as Paul, and her being blocked first was absolutely no surprise. Like, that was an easy out, and usually on The Circle it's not quite so cut and dry or easy. So she just had no chance. But I do agree with her that if she had come in as herself, she would have looked like a catfish. When I'm watching her on the show, she looks like she has a filter on. Like, she just has that Kardashian vibe type of look that looks like someone that would be a catfish. I think it was smart of her to play a catfish. I just think it was really silly of her to choose somebody with a job she doesn't know at all. When she put her dad there and then didn't want to put his real job and then put marriage therapist, I was like, what do you know about marriage therapy? I don't think you know any more than real estate brokerage or whatever he does. Maybe the producer hand was heavy. And in general in the circle, I'm feeling the producer hand a lot now. I don't know if it's like I'm jaded from seeing all of these like Love is Blinds and ultimatums and stuff, where it feels like the production is just so intense and some things just feel like too good to be true working out. And I'm like, something is sus here. So yeah, Parker, she was so funny when she visited the other catfish once she got eliminated and then was flirting with him immediately. He was so flattered, and he should be, I guess. So next we have 6th place, and that is Ling. Ling has had an interesting journey, but I have to say she is definitely my favorite. I mean, looking at me, you could guess she's like my favorite. Like, her style is absolute goals to me, and like I'm so inspired watching her. It's just hard to root for her because she's kind of struggling in the game wise, but just like as an influencer, I'm gonna go follow her. Every look she gives is just impeccable and colorful and just everything I wish I could be. I think Ling fell down in the rankings because she's struggling a bit in the game. She came in strong and made a strong impression. I think because her photos, they're so colorful and her personality really shines through, but she kind of faded into the background in the time period before the ranking to the point where it feels like she just kind of fell off of people's lists. She doesn't seem to be actively making alliances, but she is in a couple. Firstly, the girls try to make an alliance, and that was spearheaded by Carol. And then the boys kind of try to make an alliance. What I mean by alliances in this game, it just means they made a group chat and chatted for a sec. I'm using alliance loosely here. The girls kind of tried, but that didn't seem to go much anywhere. It did establish kind of a relationship with Ling and Carol, which became really important for Ling later. But otherwise, the girls aren't that tight, and same for the boys. Paul was there, so it was weird, and they voted him out. After the rankings, Ling got pulled into like the young people group chat / alliance, and I think they nicknamed themselves the Thruple. Alyssa, Ling, and Brew. They seemed to want to have each other's backs. And then she also got pulled into like a spooky, quirky group. I was living for this alliance because I was like, I would definitely be in it. And that group chat was with Ling, Jared, and Rachel. Jared is the Spice Girls, and we'll get to that. Ling, I think her connection with Carol is what's holding her in the game right now. Carol, who is a catfish, helped to save her in the first blocking. Since she was close to the bottom, she was at risk. Later on, Carol warned her in a subtle way to kind of step up her game and step up her personality. I feel like after that hint, Ling kind of got the message and put herself out there more. Especially with the Spice Girls dance challenge, it felt like she was really showing through. Really funny messages, all caps. I would love for her to make it to the end and win for the colorful girls of the world, but I don't know. I don't know that she is getting much of a winners at it. It's kind of hard for me in the circle to tell or remember what is the best strategy. In general, social games, you kind of want to be low-key for a lot of the time, but I worry she's too low-key. At least she is not getting questioned for her authenticity at all. There are a few of those players in the circle. Usually it's like the not basic people that are the most genuine seeming, and Ling is one of those that like people aren't questioning at least her identity. That is a good thing. I do feel weird that like influencers, when they're in the room making decisions, they focus so much on taking out the bottom people, the least popular people, and I'm like, why don't you take out number 3? You literally have that power. But it's a different show. It's a different show. I have to keep telling myself. Next we have 5th place, and that is Brew, who is apparently some radio social media personality, TikToker as well. I feel like maybe I've seen him on TikTok. I don't know if he's on my side of TikTok very much. You can tell Brew is a very used to being on camera, to making content. He's very kind of articulate and knows how to show his personality, and he knows how to talk to a camera and how to talk to others too in a way that's like approachable and friendly but professional at the same time. I haven't been paying that much attention to his game. I mean, I just don't really relate to him. He seems like a nice guy. He is also one who has a strong relationship with Carol. They kind of are trying to do a mother-son type of alliance. They seem to really be trusting each other, especially when they were trying to figure out who the Spice Girls were. It's interesting they cast a real influencer to see how he does. He's an example of someone playing a low-key game but still strategizing here and there. Like, he's at a good middle ground of like in a good spot, has his few alliances. He's in the throuple group, like I said. He's also in the like Party Boys Alliance. What do they call themselves? The Three Amigos, which are kind of the frat bro, or not the frat bro, the Party Boys, Brew, Frank, and Nathan, who comes in later on. This new Nathan character, even though he's a catfish, the persona has a lot in common with Brew because they're both kind of like basic white boys, basically. Next, in 4th place, we have Alyssa, who I kind of really like Alyssa, which I was surprised by. Like, at first, I wasn't sure that I would care about her either way. She's just really kind of like well-spoken and seems really nice. I mean, who knows? She could get canceled, you know, tomorrow, but she seems really sweet and like just really emotionally intelligent. I really appreciate her sex-positive angle that she brings. She really won me over, and I think she's been playing an okay game, but it's kind of falling apart towards the end because there was a lot of doubt cast on her about whether she was a Spice Girls because her bio kind of had some hints in it on accident. She said she was small and spicy, or she likes scary movies. Mostly the Spice Girls were trying to run with it to throw everyone off their trail, but I started to feel bad for Alyssa having all this doubt on her, but she does seem to have a lot of strong connections and people that kind of ride or die for her. I feel like the 2 influencers for this round really liked her, and she was one of the first people taken off the table. Carol likes her, Frank likes her. I do feel like her profile in general looks like it could be a catfish because she's just kind of like an attractive young lady. And I feel like sometimes people think that's like the catfish. I think she's gonna make it far, and she's another one that's playing kind of middle of the road, low-key, but has strong individual connections. She's in the young people throuple. I kind of ship her and Brew. Is that weird? They just seem like the type that Netflix after the show would be like, y'all want to date or what? So next we have Crissa, and Crissa, I really like her as a person. I think as far as the game goes, she is one of the players playing too low-key. She kind of fades into the background, even though she is in 3rd place in this ranking. So I think she made a strong first impression up until that ranking, but she has kind of faded for me. Maybe she's not getting a lot of screen time. She's not like starting group chats or starting individual conversations. She's just kind of letting the game play out in front of her. She did win the cake decorating, which I thought was random. I thought her cake was a solid save. Crissa, I like her. I just don't think her gameplay is strong right now. I hope she proves me wrong because she's really a cool person. She's kind of an influencer, but a sports influencer, which is interesting. She's a basketball player. She's another influencer in the group that it's interesting to see how she handles like a simulated social media game when she's winning at the real one. She's doing good though in the game. I mean, she got 3rd in the first ranking. People really like her. No one's questioning her identity. Maybe she will make it far. Maybe she is under the radar in a good way, but I can't really tell right now. Finally, we have our top 2, which are influencers. In 2nd place, we have Carol, who is a catfish, and she is played by her son, John. I think he works in communications as well. A lot of them that weren't influencers already work in like social media or communications, which kind of makes sense for this type of game because you would think in theory they'd all be good at that. Carol is interesting because last season, Michelle was booted so early. She was an older woman and she was playing herself. It's interesting to choose an older woman on purpose as a persona when maybe the previous season wasn't so successful. John as Carol is really trying to play the mama bear angle, and I do think he's laying it on thick. It was working. I mean, it got her to second place. But I think towards episode 4, people are questioning Carol a lot more often now. The first seed of doubt came because Parker visited John when she was eliminated. In her video, she was like, don't trust everything you see or whatever. Which I never understand those videos because I'm like, what did they just say? So-and-so is a catfish. Like, obviously they're not allowed. But what are the rules about the outgoing video message you can do? And like, how much can you say? Because you could make it really obvious that someone is shady. I feel like every time they say, like, just don't trust everything you see, like, even if they met with someone that was real. Carol, I feel like she started strong. John was doing great as her, getting in all the alliances. He started the girls chat group and started off those relationships. She has a good relationship with Brew. Parker said it best herself that John is doing a much better job impersonating his mom than she was doing her dad, because you can tell he is thought out. He knows how to respond. Every single message he makes starts with, hi dear, hi sweetheart, hashtag mama bear. Which, can I talk about how much I hate in the circle? Sorry, I'm being such a hater this video for no reason. Why does the circle do the hashtag thing? I really, really hate it. And I could forgive it in season 1. I could sort of forgive a season 2. But like, come on, it's 2022 and you're putting hashtags in every message. It's just so like 2009. I can't get over that it doesn't make sense. This is not a discoverable social media platform where hashtags serve any purpose. It's just like a way to say an emphasis on a message, and I'm mostly exaggerating about my reaction, but like, it just feels weird because no one nowadays talks in hashtags the same way the circle does, and it just feels very dated, and I think producers know that, and the people on there know that. It's just like part of it. I don't really know, but I would very much not be opposed if they got rid of that at some point. Carol is always hashtag mama bear this, mama bear that, and I think it is a little intense. It's like constant, like, I'm your mother. It's only a few people that are questioning her. I think it's Alyssa questioning her. People are starting to sniff her out, and I think Carol / John, they're a good example of playing too aggressively and too much at the beginning and fizzling it out later. I feel like they're gonna catch her. Also, I think a big red flag for Carol was the cake thing, because she had mentioned baking in her bio and the cake was very straight man quality. I do think like cake decorating and baking are not the same thing, but in the circle, every and any little thing is a red flag to people. If you don't make out with your dog, that's a red flag to people. Shout out to last season. So next we have our first place position, and that is Frank. Frank is a hard one for me to read, like what his strategy is. He's playing good because he's really succeeding in the game. I just don't know that he has like a methodical plan or like a way he's going about it. He does have good one-on-one connections. His connection with Crissa is really strong. They seem to really trust each other, and I hope they can continue that and having each other's back. Also, he is making new friends with like the new incoming people. He's in like the Party Boys Three Amigos group. He can relate to the influencers because he is a fashion influencer himself. I think a lot of people can relate to him. He seems to be like a very multifaceted person and is good at showing it through the chats. Whatever he's doing is working, and he got first place. I wouldn't be surprised if he continues to stay towards the top. Also, no one's questioning Frank's identity at all either. He was the first person we saw enter. Usually I feel like the first person we see makes it far in the game. So next, let's bring in our new players and talk about them and how they impacted the game. This is the biggest twist of these 4 episodes and kind of like the arc of them, because this storyline stayed throughout the first 4 episodes and it looks like it's coming to an end at the end of episode 4, beginning of episode 5. And that is the persona of Jared. So as the #1 influencer, Frank got to choose the new player coming in out of 2 different profiles. The annoying thing about that was that like Frank was given this power, but it wasn't even real because it was for a catfish. So anyway, Frank chooses the profile of this guy named Jared, who is a children's book author. However, we are told as the audience that it's actually 2 of the Spice Girls, like the actual Spice Girls, that are the ones that are going to be behind that profile. Emma Bunton and Mel B from the Spice Girls come into the circle to play, ? Because they're not actually playing on the circle, and I think this is an interesting twist. I'm not totally sure yet how I feel about it. I want to see how it finishes playing out. I appreciate at least the attempt and the effort to do something weird and different. They're actually not playing the game. They are trying to see how far they can make it, and if they can make it past a certain amount of tests against the other people, they can increase the prize money for whoever the winner is. So it looks like this week in episode 5, we're gonna see them leave. We'll see if they succeeded in increasing the money or not. I think this is a really interesting twist and a cool way to integrate a celebrity into a show like this. They flirted with this idea in a different season, sorry I can't remember which exact season it was, where Lance Bass came in to compete on the circle, but he was actually a catfish and it was his assistant behind the scenes. In that season with Lance Bass, everyone was kind of asking him like, why do you need this money? I feel like the circle producers wanted to include another kind of VIP moment. This was a really clever way to do it. They're not competing in the game, they're not in there as themselves, but they're there for us, the audience, to enjoy as kind of like a guest star cameo. Not a cameo because it's all 4 episodes, they got him for a good amount of time. The 2 Spice Girls were playing this character of Jared. They made up his bio, they had his occupation. They also had a little dog there with them, which I'm like, how do they walk the dog? Maybe some random PA has to take the dog out. I think the Spice Girls were doing an okay job. I think a lot of people were sus of Jared in general because he was kind of generic and the Spice Girls were playing him pretty tentatively. That's where catfish mess up and end up losing the game, is when they're too tentative as their fake persona. We've seen successful catfish and I think all of them are very assertive. Like even Carol, who is now getting more suspicious to people, she started out at the top and that's because she was playing assertively. Alyssa in season 2 was playing assertively and she was successful there. Even on this season, Nathan later on, he is playing kind of assertively too, and I think people aren't really questioning his catfishness as much. But Jared, they were questioning him a lot. They were just kind of agreeing with everyone and not being very distinct as like a voice. Even though I think Mel B is really funny, and it's funny how dirty she is. Like she was always bringing it to like a raunchy place and like in a really fun way. So I kind of wish the Spice Girls had just been playing a girl or just a more feminine energy, because I feel like they could have shined more, and they're just girls, you know, and like I love that for them. I think they could have been more authentic that way. Between episode 3 and episode 4, the players are all told that for a few days the Spice Girls have been talking to them and they are behind one of the profiles in the circle. So the players are obviously completely shook that they've been talking to the Spice Girls this whole time. That's awesome, but they have to figure out who it is. They have a few suspects. Like I said, Alyssa is a suspect because her bio accidentally matches with the Spice Girls. Jared is a suspect because he's been agreeable. Some people don't feel like they know him. And then they also suspect a new girl named Rachel, which I'm about to talk about, who is a big Spice Girls fan and was very vocal about it earlier. Then she got an answer wrong on the Spice Girls quiz, so it made her look kind of uncredible. Frank voted for Carol as the Spice Girls, so we know Frank is suspicious of Carol. He's definitely on the right track, but Carol is just a regular catfish, not a famous catfish. As far as we could see, it didn't look like the Spice Girls were gonna get caught, but that was the cliffhanger we left off on in episode 4. Jared was playing very tentatively until everyone was trying to figure out who the Spice Girls were, and they were working overtime to tell everyone like, she's suspicious and he's suspicious and that's suspicious, and they kind of successfully managed to like have one-on-one conversations with a lot of people. It was kind of crazy, but the circle, something about it, I'm trying to pinpoint my issues with it, and maybe it's just the format that it's not like my favorite game. I just feel like people can't talk enough with each other, like especially in the beginning. The circle is very like polite and political and like social politics. I'm not talking like government politics, just kind of fluffy language just to be liked. That is the point, but I feel like it's hard to get to those conversations where people are vulnerable. Even once you get those vulnerable moments where people like admit, you know, something about their family or, you know, some vulnerable piece of information, the other person's just like, thanks for sharing, and then it's just like circle chat ended. Every chat feels cut short and like people don't get to talk much, and maybe that's kind of where I get hung up on the circle, comparing it to another social game like Survivor, where people are constantly talking and people are unfiltered at a certain point of talking to each other. Once you get into a few days, it's like smiling to your face and stabbing you in the back. And that's the thing with the circle that's missing, and I feel like I complain about this in every circle video, so it might just be an issue I have with the format. Anyway, I was proud of the Spice Girls as Jared at least getting to a lot of people and really kind of throwing the suspicion off of themselves. Finally, we have our two newest members of the circle. Both of these people, we haven't seen much of their gameplay. We just know kind of how they're starting off and how they fared within this like craziness around who is the Spice Girls episode 4 thing. First off, we have Rachel, who is playing herself in the circle. When I saw Rachel, y'all know that was the moment where I was like, I see why I was not cast this season. They already got a curly haired girl with pink hair in her profile picture, glasses, and thick thighs, except she has a extremely interesting and fascinating profession of like a ghost hunter or paranormal specialist. I forget what title she called it, and she plays the accordion. I see they went with a way more interesting version of me. I'll have to try again next year. I need to find a new personality and a way more interesting job. Maybe that's why I'm so salty at the circle, because they didn't cast me this season even though I applied. All jokes aside, I really love Rachel. Obviously, I relate to her a lot. Like, I feel like she represents me in the circle. Like, Ling is who I aspire and wish I could be. But Rachel is like, you know, she's who I am now. Like, I relate to her so hard. I just appreciate her quirkiness. She's weird. Like, I just feel like I know who she is. She doesn't have pink hair in the circle, but she chose a picture where she did have pink hair, and she was like, people with colored hair, what a personality trait. Yeah, my pink hair is literally 90% of my personality. I'm rooting for her, but I don't think she has a great chance, because so far her time has been tumultuous. Everyone suspected she was a Spice Girl. She might get kicked out for them thinking she's the Spice Girls. I don't know if whoever they vote for being the Spice Girls is getting blocked. I don't want it to be Rachel. I don't want her to be blocked. I just think she has a slim chance. She struggled in the Spice Girls quiz. In the circle, there's like no room for nuance. Like the thing with Michelle and the dog last season, if you know, you know. Rachel didn't know the answer to the question about some Spice Girls music video, and she got it wrong, and that just made everyone just generally suspicious of her. A lot of these people that are saying they're fans of the Spice Girls, they were born in the 90s. They were literal children when they were going to concerts and whatnot. Especially in that day and age, without YouTube existing, you didn't know or watch music videos all the time. Like, you had to just magically be at the right place at the right time on MTV watching. I hate that in the circle there's no room for that thought and that nuance, and it's just like as soon as someone does something slightly weird and off, everyone jumps on it. Same things kind of happen in Survivor, but justice for Rachel not knowing any Spice Girls music video. She just got unlucky in that whole interaction, and I don't know that she's gonna make it far. The new people have a really hard time making it far because they don't have as strong connections with others as well. James proved last season that you can make it as a new audition, but it's definitely hard, and he hustled to get up there. And finally, the last person we have is a guy named Alex playing a persona of Nathan. He's older, and his persona that he's playing is 22. This Nathan persona is a frat bro. He's really young, and he has like a mullet going. He's really trying to play the bro frat thing and party guy thing in order to seem non-threatening. Alex walked in with a shirt that said strategic AF, and I just hope he means it, because I live for a strategic moment, especially on the circle where it's lacking. I don't know much on Alex. I think he didn't get a chance to shine because he doesn't know about the Spice Girls, and the whole time he's been there has been kind of about the Spice Girls. It seemed like some people suspected he was the secret Spice Girls, but not enough to be threatened. I don't think he's like on the chopping block. Alex is trying to be strategic. He was going in guns a-blazing, trying to make group chat. He seems to have given a lot of thought to his strategy. He might make it a little bit longer. I don't know if he's like finals worthy. I do think he has a better chance of making it further than Rachel does, because Rachel got kind of this bad start. That is the cast of The Circle season 4. Those are my thoughts on them so far. The preview looked exciting, so at least we have that to look forward to. I just did feel the pacing of episodes 1 through 4. It was just a little slow. There's a lot of filler of them just like living, which I know is like the fun part of it, but also it's just like, it feels kind of performative at times. And also there's like so much niceties and messages that are just like kissing ass basically. But I'm really excited about what we saw in the preview. It looks like exciting twists. There's like some big hack coming. There was the Spice Girls visiting somebody. There's 2 new players as well. So the 2 new players we talked about today might look like old players by the next few episodes. I'm excited for everything in store coming up. I'll make sure to check in with y'all at the end of the season to see if any of my predictions were right. Right now, my choice for the winner, I'm rooting for Ling the most, but who I think is gonna win, I think Frank has a good chance, and I think Brew has a good chance. I would be team Rachel as well. I just think she's already kind of like lost her footing a bit. I would love to know what you think and who you think is gonna be the winner. I'm gonna be watching these as they come out, so you might have comments already in the future. Please like this video and subscribe to my channel. If you enjoyed, I put out new videos twice a week about TV, pop culture, internet trends, and other miscellaneous things. You can follow me at Miscellaneous on Instagram or Twitter to find out about new videos, or just turn on the bell notification here on YouTube. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.